Okay, so part 2, balance around our guide connections. Let's do it. Okay, so run that central meridian. Okay, brain, okay, heart. Okay, brain, okay, heart. Let's give us the best outcome for this session. Okay. Okay. I have 100% connection to my guides of love, light, and God. I sense their presence around me and I draw on their love and strength. I have full communication with my guides and this helps me evolve and grow. I am at one with this divine energy. I am at one with this divine energy. Okay, so let's go have a squiz. So, adrenal survival, deep survival. All right, so initially there's a hidden deep survival pattern. Okay, is it linked in with the celestial circuit being out? Is it linked in with EMC, MMC, PVSS, MMC? Right, so there's a mental modulation. Sometimes when we think too much about spirituality, we mentally get messed up with it because our logical side wants to kick on in, but spirituality is not about logic. So, you know, of course it's going to mess with us. Anyway, so where do we need to go? So the MMC, the mental modulation. Right, so trust has a hard time. So trust and trust issues. Trust in spirit, trust in guides, trust in soul. Fear, threat, danger in believing that. Sometimes when we believe in things that other people don't believe in, it makes us not want to go forward with our knowledge around things. So fear, threat, danger, letting go of that fear, letting go of that danger around having beliefs, letting go of that danger around being a spiritual human being. Trust and trust issues. Trust in spirit, trust in guides, trust in God energy, trust in the divine. Okay, the frontal cortex. So that's that area. Let me just ask, is it to do with oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, melatonin, serotonin? Okay, so serotonin. In relation to optimal levels of serotonin. So escape, wanting to run away. So serotonin is that calming and nurturing area. You know, and I was sort of thinking about this one over Christmas because I started, like it hasn't taken off here in Australia. I started getting the old happy holidays comment. And we don't do that in Australia. We're like, hey, Merry Christmas. It's Christmas. And I shared something on Facebook and people were like, what are you even talking about? You know, the whole, well, I'm going to upset people if we say Merry Christmas. Can't possibly have something about Christ in our inbox that'll upset the non-people. Anyway, it's sort of like there's a real fear of upsetting people, that wanting to run away rather than upsetting people. And I think, you know, once again, it's about owning our beliefs, owning our spirituality, owning our divinity. So that's serotonin allowing us to just have our beliefs and not worry about what other people think. Okay. Now there's something else with the frontal cortex. So there's some depression, so some real sort of like a sadness, despondency, depression going on because of a lack of frontal cortex activity. Okay. And it's around being frozen in place. So if we're frozen in place, we're not going to have that connection to our spirit guides. We're not going to feel that connection to the divine. Because being frozen in place means that we've got that fear, that anxiety, that inability to see forward, inability to see beyond what's right here and now. Okay, the next one showing up is a hippocampus circuit. So this one's lack of motivation due to internal negativity. Okay. Escape, submission, freeze. So that's sort of that whole negative thought process is going around and around and around down our head. So there's an old book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by an author called Susan Jeffers. She died a few years ago. But the book, it's a really short little book. If you ever want to, you know, sort of let go of the fear and do it anyway, it's a great little book with lots of sensible techniques to sort of get you motivated to move forward in your life. And she talks about the fact that when we're in a negative space, we can have 20,000 negative thoughts a day. Your subconscious brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined, or what we're telling ourselves. So if we're giving ourselves 20,000 negative messages a day, guess what? Your brain's going to believe it. So just clearing some of that negative energy, those negative entities, that negative energy fields. Parahippocampus, I'll need a book for that one. So the parahippocampus, it's the gyration, so it's a little gyrus around the hippocampus. So hippocampus is memory, so, you know, names and faces and words and meanings and where we live and how everything looks, you know, all of that sort of stuff, hippocampus. But the parahippocampal gyrus is around the hippocampus, and it's like the emotions around the memories. So let's go have a squiz. So once again, this is around connection to our guides, connection to our divinity, connection to our God energy. So that God within. Right. So the first thing showing up is the stomach 12 points. And these are in relation to memory and how you react to things emotionally. So do you feel comfortable and safe talking to people about your spirituality? Do you feel comfortable and safe talking about your spirit guides? Do you feel comfortable and safe talking about the fact that sometimes you might have a knowing about things that you can't explain? Yeah, right. The next ones are liver 14 points. They're just at the bottom of the rib cage. Now this one's there's a pain punishment circuit linked in with this. This is a visceral response. So it's getting a visceral response to your beliefs around your guides, your beliefs around your divinity, your beliefs around your connection to that sense of oneness, that God light, that love within, the divinity within. But it really is part of that whole finding our own tribe, isn't it? Okay. The next one's a little point down here, so it's to do with complex thought. So when we're emotional, we're not able to see the bigger picture, you're not able to put together a whole bunch of information. And in relation to anything divine or anything spiritual or anything connection to our guides, when we are only in our head, when we're trying to think only logically, when we're trying to only be in this third in this level of the world energy, you know, we're not paying attention to the other things going on because we're so in the world, we're not of the world, we're not looking at the bigger picture when it comes to spirituality and divinity. You know, the whole what more is there sort of question. Okay, so is there anything, now let me go into an old pattern. So there's an old pattern, memory responses, reactions that block recall or block transfer from long-term memory. So why would your body do that? Obviously, some of us have memory recall issues when there's been something really traumatic happen in the past. So the brain is actually being really kind to us by not allowing us to remember whatever that is. And this is escape, submission, freeze, rather than remembering the long-term memory stuff. Now, for me personally, when it comes to divinity and spirit guides and God and religion, I grew up a Catholic. I went to 7 years of Catholic school with all the fun stuff associated with the nuns and all that sort of jazz. So trauma from the people in the church is very different to trauma from your belief systems. You know, there's sort of like the man-made belief systems, and then there's the actual divinity and the actual God energy and the actual universal energy. I think they're two totally different things. Okay. There's also an old thing associated with complex thought processes where you don't want to go there because it's too traumatic to think too much about something. Oh, that one's linked in with some old rage, anger, frustration. Interesting. So don't think about it too much because we'll get angry. Don't think about it too much because we'll get frustrated. And of course, outward energy, the gallbladder energy in the body is outward, externalized rage, anger, frustration, whereas liver energy is internalized rage, anger, frustration. Okay. Okay. There's an auditory integration point. So auditory integration is that stuff you hear and the stuff you tell yourself. So once again, you know, sort of thinking about little human beings when they're connected to guides and they're connected to spirit, quite often they get told by adults that what they're seeing or feeling or hearing isn't correct. It doesn't exist. It's all in their head. They're crazy little things. So, of course, they suppress that ability to connect. And that's the last thing we want to do to our little souls on the planet. So we need to support imagination. There's, you know, Dr. Bruce Lipton, he talks about the fact that in the last trimester in the womb and up to 7 years old, children are in a theta state, which means their imaginations is heightened. They might, you know, when they might be imagining all sorts of things and seeing things that we as conscious adults can't see because they're in that subconscious state. So they might be connected to spirit in a whole different way. Imagine having that and nurturing it and utilizing that energy for the good of humanity. I need a flower essence. Oh yeah, little flannel flower. So little flannel flower is an Australian bush flower essence. It's one of the ones that is often in people who have been abused as children. But that's just one part of it, because it's about people who need safety and security and hugs and love and care. So at the beginning it says, if I had my life to live over, I would start barefoot earlier in the spring and stay out later in the fall. I would go to more dances. I would ride more merry-go-rounds. I would pick up more daisies. So it's just about living life to the full. Interesting. And the two affirmations at the end are, I am now free to express joy and playfulness. I am now free to express joy and playfulness. And I now flow spontaneously wherever the universe takes me. I now flow spontaneously wherever the universe takes me. And funnily enough, the negative condition of little flannel flower is denial of the child in the personality. Seriousness in children. And what were we just talking about? They're in a theta state until about 7 years old. So little flannel flower is for being carefree, playful, and joyful. It's fun to be a human. Life is good, life is good, life is good. Okay, let's just stack this in again. I have 100% connection to my guides of love, light, and God. I sense their presence around me, and I draw on their love and strength. I have full communication with my guides, and this helps me to evolve and grow. I am at one with this divine energy. I am at one with this divine energy. Beautiful. Okay, sweetie pies. Wherever you are in the world, hope life is treating you well. Hope you're coping with all the craziness and doing the best we can in this now moment on the planet. Take care, everyone.